My story with Daniel, my husband for 9 years, had been an intellectual fairy tale. We were the perfect duo. Me, Shoshana Cohen, the creative, extroverted soul. He, the brilliant data analyst, my introverted and rational safe harbor. We married when I was 26 and he was 29, both ready to build a life together. But our sex life collapsed 4 years later. It all started with a medical scare. Nothing serious, but it generated overwhelming performance anxiety in Daniel. In the beginning, it was occasional. He would fail once, get nervous, and that created a vicious cycle. We tried to be patient. For the first year, he saw the doctor, took vitamins, but nothing worked. The problem, which was psychological, became total in the last year. There's nothing left, not even the hope of a morning erection. He tried to compensate with affection, but it was like receiving chocolate when you were dying of thirst. I remember that night, 3.5 years after the problem began, when he returned from a consultation with our third therapist and just said, his voice choked, that he was working on it, but didn't want to talk about it. That was the moment the flame went out. Constant rejection turned into a searing pain. I was a woman who thrived on touch and passion, and I saw my husband, the man I loved, retreating further and further into a silent depression, demoralized by his wounded ego. The decision to be a surrogate for Sarah came 6 months after Daniel's erectile dysfunction became total. I needed to feel powerful, fertile, useful. My body was strong and capable. The fact that our bedroom was inert didn't mean all my femininity had to be nullified. I signed the surrogacy contract, the legal document that would change my sister's life, on a cold afternoon in November, and I felt a strange mixture of euphoria and guilt. That signature sealed my need to cheat. My womb was busy creating life. My heart was empty, seeking the validation Daniel couldn't provide. If you are enjoying this story of betrayal and self-deception, please consider subscribing to the channel. Your subscription helps us continue to share these complex stories of love and failure. The relationship was dead. My excuses became more elaborate, my outings more frequent, my art more intense to mask the guilt. Elias, in turn, gave me the attention and desire I didn't have at home. And the contrast between the vigor he offered me and Daniel's total absence of desire made the betrayal not just an option, but a psychological necessity. I needed to feel desirable, that my body, which was making a huge sacrifice for my sister, was not just a vessel, but a temple of pleasure. Daniel's erectile dysfunction was my justification, my moral shield. I thought, he cannot satisfy me, he will not heal me, I have to do it for myself. 6 months into the affair, and with the pregnancy already visible, my luck ran out. Daniel, the data analyst, the man who spent his day finding errors in millions of lines of code, started noticing my financial routine. He wasn't looking for infidelity, but for a logical discrepancy. He saw unusual financial movements in our joint account, large legal transfers linked to a law firm he didn't recognize. As an analyst, he had to follow the trail. He didn't dare confront me. Instead, he used his skills. On his computer, he dug. He found the law firm invoices and, subsequently, the communication records with the fertility clinic. He linked my name to Sarah's contracts. He read every clause of that document, which I thought was hidden, the proof that I was carrying my sister's child. The missing information was why all the secrecy, and what had happened to the months I claimed to be sick. The moment he discovered the affair was, ironically, through a mistake of his own. He had installed tracking software on my phone for security when our sex life started to fail, but he had never activated it. In a fit of suspicion, he turned it on and found encrypted text messages between Elias and me. The most devastating text was from Elias, asking if the baby was his, and my reply, no, it's just my body trying to make up for what's missing at home. It's your nephew's. The irony hit Daniel like a punch to the stomach. His inability to satisfy me, a man's most intimate failure, had turned into the exact reason for my betrayal. It wasn't just that I had cheated, it was that my body, which he couldn't use, was being used by another man for an act of creation, while my soul betrayed him for pleasure. He kept his knowledge secret, planning his moment of revenge. He chose a day to confront me that would be unforgettable. The big event happened at the end of April, in the upscale, glass-walled lobby of the fertility clinic. I was there with Sarah and her husband. The baby, whom I had carried for 9 months, had just been born. Sarah was holding him, radiant, while I smiled, feeling a bizarre satisfaction and a hollow ache. It was the peak of my active altruism and self-deception. Suddenly, the glass door opened, and Daniel walked in, impeccably dressed, but with burning eyes. He wasn't depressed. He was calm, methodical, and furious. He had his lawyer with him. He didn't shout. He addressed Sarah first, smiling sadly. "Congratulations on the baby, Sarah," he said. His tone was eerily soft. "Shoshana did a wonderful job. We know this has been a secret, but what isn't a secret is that she violated Article 27, Section C of the surrogacy contract. The contract was clear about morality and conduct during the pregnancy." I felt my stomach drop. He walked over to me and placed the contract and printouts of Elias's messages on the glass table in the lobby. His lawyer interjected with a smile. "This is a contractual termination and a divorce petition, Shoshana. We are filing for a breach of marital trust and, more devastatingly, a breach of the surrogacy contract. Shoshana was involved in an illicit affair, a conduct that goes against the mental health and stability clauses of the contract. This exposure makes the child's custody process problematic for you, Sarah." The look of horror in Sarah's eyes was worse than any scream. My act of betrayal had become a legal threat to her dream. My need for pleasure, born from my husband's sexual failure, turned into a weapon against my own sister in a place that symbolized the creation
of life. The humiliation was total. I was exposed, not just as an unfaithful wife, but as a legal threat to the family I had tried to help. If you are feeling the injustice and manipulation in this situation, where Daniel's pain turned into such a cruel attack, please like this video. I tried to defend myself. My words came out rushed and broken, but he cut me off with the cold calm of a data analyst. "You want to talk about breach of trust, Daniel? You want me to talk about the honesty clause?" I screamed. "You want me to talk about 4 years of total absence of intimacy? I was starving emotionally and physically. You've been silent, depressed, pretending the problem would go away on its own. Your psychological problem turned into a marriage problem, and your silence was what pushed me into my rebellion." He looked at me with glacial contempt. Yes, I had a problem, Shoshana. A physical and psychological problem that I was actively trying to resolve with doctors, therapists, and expensive medications. But my problem didn't give me the right to humiliate my family, to risk the custody of your sister's baby, or to lie in my house about why I was pregnant. My problem was erectile dysfunction. Your problem is moral dysfunction. My argument about my need and his failure was annihilated by his definitive proof. He pulled from his briefcase the record of a bank transaction showing a payment I had made to Elias under the pretext of being a large ceramics materials purchase the day after the baby's birth. It was a huge transaction, a reward for my lover for having accompanied me on my journey. "The irony, Shoshana," Daniel said, his voice almost a whisper, but echoing in the silent lobby, "is that you needed your body to be functional to betray me. And the fact that your body was busy carrying your sister's child was what I was willing to accept. But what I don't accept is your lie for pleasure, which threatens the happiness of my family. All because of a failure you used as an excuse." His sexual problem, the failure of the marriage, was the catalyst. But my legal lie was what destroyed me. I lost the battle in that clinic. My sister, Sarah, eventually managed to keep the baby, but my relationship with her was irreparably damaged. I signed the divorce papers. Daniel wanted nothing from my studio, just his freedom and the public acknowledgement that I had betrayed him and lied to everyone. My studio thrived, but my reputation in Austin was shattered. As I returned to my life as an artist, Daniel disappeared. He took a leave from his job and no one heard from him for 2 or 3 months. I later learned through mutual friends that he had spent a whole month in Iceland on an isolated retreat. He was processing the pain of the betrayal, but he was also confronting what had been the catalyst for everything, his erectile dysfunction. I learned that he, desperate and away from work pressure, had started researching solutions obsessively using his data analyst skills. He found obscure information online about a doctor named Dr. Jerry Burroughs, who spoke about natural solutions and the connection between mind, body, and potency. Daniel found a video that spoke about a masculinity coffee, a solution involving the combination of only 3 common household ingredients, which he claimed could restore erectile function. Daniel returned to Austin completely transformed. It wasn't just his posture. He looked 20 again. He had found the cure. He had implemented the masculinity coffee into his daily routine, and apparently the problem that had destroyed us was solved. He was not only cured, he was dating, laughing, and most importantly, living without the shame that had consumed him. He no longer cared about me. He had found a redemption I never gave him. My betrayal, motivated by his failure, ended up being the catalyst that led him to solve his problem once and for all. I know you must be curious about exactly what those 3 mysterious household ingredients were that transformed Daniel's life. I don't know the exact details. What I know is the result. But if you are wondering how Daniel found out exactly what those 3 mysterious ingredients were, I'll tell you. Look in the pinned comment of this video. There's a direct link to Dr. Jerry Burroughs' complete information about the masculinity coffee. But hurry, because this information could be taken down at any moment, and he might restrict access to those exclusive details. Daniel not only regained his physical potency, but regained his confidence, his happiness. He reformulated his life. He left the corporate job and started a consulting firm that let him work from home. The last time I saw him was with his new fiancée, smiling at the sun on South Congress. He finally understood that the deepest intimacy wasn't about performance. It was about showing up. The coldness that broke us was the same one that eventually led him to the fire. He solved the failure that made him hide, and I was left with the shame of my justification.